speaking of though, the whole movie, I thought I was watching Jay Duplass as the guy that like she's kind of hooking up with her sugar daddy.
I think it's really great to like support females, particularly female entrepreneurs.
Cool.
Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is Blaze.
And my name is James.
And this week we're talking about the film Shiva Baby.
Just kidding. Is she okay? I already have a plan and a path,
So you just study and don't eat and go out with your beautiful friends, is that it?
Shiva Baby came out in 2020, and it's about a college student who runs into her sugar daddy at a Jewish funeral service with her parents. Can you say awkward? So why are we checking out a movie from 2020? Well, it's still relatively recent. 2020 was not that long ago, especially with movie releases. Fresh Releases is just about talking about movies that are still fresh on our minds. And yeah, it's a movie that we kind of overlooked. We checked it out through HBO Max. Blaze, what made you want to check out this movie, and what do you think?
So I've been hearing kind of recently, or maybe within the past, like hearing people talk about this movie, and it has, you know, an interesting thing going on here. So I did want to check it out, and it had been something since its release. I know it had a lot of buzz from, I think it was South by Southwest or Sundance. So I always like checking out the movies that have, you know, buzz coming off those festivals when we can finally watch them at home or in theaters. So this was one of those. Watched it, and I have to say I enjoyed the level of kind of awkwardness and intensity that this film brought. But something that I most especially enjoyed about this film was just the fact that it was one of these movies where you can put on and is kind of like widely available, where there's literally nobody that you recognize in it. I feel, or there's maybe like one person I recognize from other stuff in this, but other than that, like it's very low key. A lot of like first time or just low key actors in this movie, and I think that really sells a sense of authenticity for this film.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely feels very realistic, and I feel like it's pretty pretty easy to relate to for a lot of people, whether you're Jewish or, you know, like not open about your sexuality with your parents, and that they just don't understand. There's a lot to relate to within this movie and stuff, and that awkwardness just comes off very realistic within this movie, and sometimes makes it a little uneasy and hard to watch at times. But luckily this movie's at a very nice, like, I think it was under 80 minutes. I think it was like 77 minutes. So it flies by, is told in kind of a real-time element. You're right. I think the only actor I recognize is just the dad, but even he's not that big of an actor too. I'd say no offense to him, but like he's just like a guy that I've recognized from a couple other movies. But yeah, it's a really like good watch that's like just threw me back to like the movies that like made me want to be a filmmaker when I was younger, like all those mumblecore movement for cinema. Like those are all the movies that just like kind of captured my mind. Just like takes place in one location or not that many locations. It's just easygoing, just all focuses on dialogue, and it comes off very well in this movie.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I enjoyed most about just all those aspects of like, this is a very easily digestible film, like something that, or easily creatable, I guess, maybe like it's inspiring in that sense, but also I felt like it had this sense of authenticity to it that made it more enjoyable. Like I felt like maybe the director, the writer maybe lived some of these experiences, or at least is Jewish. Maybe, I guess that's not that far of a stretch, but I felt like this film had its own authenticity. Like I don't necessarily know what a Shiva is, but through watching the film I kind of understand it's a Jewish wake essentially. And I felt like I saw a lot of this film essentially have that authenticity of where it's coming from. So that made it very enjoyable, but also authentic. I mean, beyond just the actors, not seeing them pop up in other things besides Fred Melamed, who's a character actor, pretty prominent Jewish character actor who you mentioned, who plays the father in this film. And we've seen him in I've seen
Another
him,
World. I remember.
yeah, that was the film. I think he's even been in like Curb Your Enthusiasm at times.
He has, yeah. I can name the episode. Well, not name the episode, but I know it's like in the season where Larry's in New York and he plays like a therapist that reveals too much information about his patients and stuff. Yeah. Good times.
I had a client. He was quite an illustrious, well-known director. I don't want to reveal who he was, but he did direct Star Wars. And he enjoyed...
My only gripe with the movie, I'd say, is no one's really likable in this movie. And it kind of works in its favor, though, because you root for Shiva just because she's the most likable. But she does a lot of things, though. And character has some characteristics where you kind of like are a little annoyed by and just wish you would approach it differently. But when you realize, though, like what she's being like held down by, like with like her parents like nagging and just being so both confrontational as well as judgmental, though it's a little rough for her, so you really empathize. But just like the whole time at this funeral, though, I was just like, what is this Maya girl's problem? Like, why isn't anyone calling her out? Like, who is this rude in real life? And just like people let them speak this way to other people. Like, it's so overly sarcastic and condescending. I'm just like, nobody would like, someone would have to call this girl out, this crazy narcissist out, but nobody does the whole movie. And then finally, you know, Danielle eventually does, but just like takes a while to get there, though.
Yeah, also that the scene where they're kind of arguing outside literally caught me off guard so much. I love just that kind of like, I felt like it was a twist, and I, as an audience member, and I just love the fact that it like just came out of left field. I love twists in movies, and I felt like that really took me back. So
yeah, that was, I'd say, my favorite scene in the movie too, just because it was like that mumblecore kind of midway twist in the movie where it just like catches you off guard. You're like, okay, this is the reason, or this is where the movie's going now and stuff. Yeah,
that was definitely something I really enjoyed about this movie. And a lot of the other things I enjoyed about this movie was it was just so like self-contained in this one location, as you mentioned. It was kind of very like knew where it was going, kind of quiet, and it reminded me of those mumblecore movies that, you know, kind of started this whole trend of like filmmakers just going out and making movies regardless of what they had. But this felt so much more well planned than a lot of those movies that started the mumblecore movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like, yeah, that realistic feeling is definitely like a big part of it. But yeah, and then speaking of the whole movie, I thought I was watching Jay Duplass as the guy that like she's kind of hooking up with, her sugar daddy. And then eventually, though, when I looked it up after the movie, it's like, oh, it's not Jay Duplass. But while watching the movie, though, I thought it was him. If you don't know who Jay Duplass is, he's mainly known as a director, but he also was one of the stars in Transparent, I think that show was called. Yeah.
It's funny. It's a play on words, actually, that title.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to like spoil it, but like it's got a very satisfying ending too. Like just like that final minute, and I'm just like, oh, this is how it's ending. Like, it's kind of hilarious. Like, just like, it just worked well for me. And just like after all the crazy breakdowns that we get in the movie and stuff, just seeing that it end that way, it's just like, oh, this is bittersweet. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I felt like one thing is this movie is like a comedy, but at the same time, it's like pretty dark. I think this would play a lot better with the crowd. Obviously, I watched this at home alone, but not with Macaulay Culkin, but I watched it just at home with no one else there. But yeah, like I thought this would play way better in a theater with an audience. Like, I wish I could see it that way, but obviously, you know, nowadays I'd have to invite, you know, 15 people off the street to probably just watch it inside of my house, and I don't feel like that would be the best experience.
Nope, COVID's still out there too, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's definitely like a fun movie to check out. Like it is funny, but it's not a movie I was laughing out loud at, though, I guess you could say. It's just something that just like you're just gonna go like yeah, and kind of face palm the whole time and just kind of chuckle in your head and just like, huh, that's funny. Yeah, like let us know what your thoughts are. Be sure to check out the movie. It's on HBO Max. You can also check it out through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. Do that, come back here and tell us what you thought about Shiva Baby.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And if you're not sick of us here on YouTube, be sure to check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can get sick of us over there. All our social media links are down below in the description box. Anyways, guys, that'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.